Thanks for joining me for one of my podcasting. And I've done at this point to date 415 episodes of the program, which all of you know have been short form between 5 and 20 minutes, where there's various subjects talked about. And it's amazing, just the breadth of topics we're going to talk about. Everything from psychedelics, cannabis, dating, Uber, various just various issues that come to mind. And one thing I have talked quite a bit about is crypto, NFTs, and the metaverse. And for my own sake, I went ahead and invested into cryptocurrency last year. So I now hold Bitcoin and Ethereum. And long story short, I did it as just because, the idea to diversify, but really I didn't think of it anything else. But I did this without knowing anything really at all about what cryptocurrency really does and what really just getting the makings of it. My whole thought process was, okay, take it kind of like how precious metals. That's the way I was able to buy into it. I had one interview I did on one of the networks I do as full time, and I got an explanation. I still needed more information. So I have found someone that's going to help me out with that today. He's the author of Making More Money for You, Decrypting Cryptocurrency, Riding the Path to Financial Freedom. And the point is that interest in cryptocurrency is skyrocketing, but it remains a relatively new, seldom understood investment option, even for someone like myself. So here to explain things in straightforward language for beginner to moderate investors like myself is my guest, Magnus Carter. Magnus, thanks for being on with me.
Thank you, Brasco, for the opportunity.
Hey, my pleasure. I'm really glad that we get this together. And man, I really needed this kind of help with a book like this. Your new book, which I'm so thankful to get the audio version, which, if you got to do it, it's available Amazon. Go look for it. Again, Making Money for You, Decrypting Cryptocurrency, Riding the Path to Financial Freedom. So it's a Kindle form. You want to get an Audible, get the paperback, go for it. And you provide detailed guidance that explains virtually everything about the world of cryptocurrency, from the different types of cryptocurrencies and blockchains to a step-by-step approach for making wise investment decisions. Now, at the start of the book, or initially in the introduction, you made a great point that applies to me. I invested in crypto without any idea of how it really works. And there's a lot of apps and websites. There's Cash App now. PayPal is where I did my investments with. They make it easy to invest. You don't even think about it. Just set it and forget it. And some people are accidentally jumping in with little fear of any risk. And that's where people feel like, when you are going to be investing, obviously we must do the disclaimer that any investments can cause risk or loss. But I did it. And I want to know about how the book helps to break down the fundamentals and calm down those that are suffering from fear of missing out.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you decided to jump into it. I'm glad my book's actually helping you out tremendously with it. The reason a lot of people don't invest is because they don't understand it. Like you were saying, there's so much jargon into it. Cryptocurrency is a lot of technical aspect. It has to do with computers, has to do with the back-end data, how data is moved from one spot to another spot. So I took the book in the introduction, which talks about a young child, teenager maybe, or young adult that invests in it and becomes a millionaire. He gets a whole bunch of revenue from taking a chance on it. And one thing about investing is don't invest anything you can't afford to lose.
Right.
Is the main point about anything that you do with money. It's at your own risk, but there are significant gains with it. So what I decided to do is I went in and broke down the jargon. I broke down the technical aspect of it, the history of it. Bitcoin actually started back in the 90s with a bunch of programmers that got together. It's like, hey, we want to find a way to make transactions happen without going to a bank, without having to deal with money, without have to deal with change or receipts or anything. And that's where this all started from and stemmed from.
Right. So there's been books I've read, like The Millionaire Next Door, The Guide to Wealth, Simple Man's Guide to Wealth. And there's books that obviously say that, listen, you can take particular, ETFs, put your money to a Vanguard account, put it into any kind of S&P 500 accounts and let it grow at 7%. But we know that there is the long-term play that everybody should have, but then we all can't help ourselves. We're gamblers and instinctually that we need to go ahead and just put how much can we put into the slot machine so it'll churn out more. And it's like, what more return on investment can we get? If it's REITs, if it's, various, if it's going to be NFTs or Metaverse, whatever is coming up now, the next big thing or the next thing that's high risk and really high risk, high reward, that kind of thought process. For me, my investment, I have 10% of what I have put into crypto. And so far, when I've hit a certain amount where, last year when I hit past almost 50,000 for Bitcoin and over 3,000 for Ethereum, I would take, I would kind of cash in my chips a little bit. I would just, skim off the top of my original investment and just leave it there. At the moment, I'm holding a bag, but that's because everything else is going on. Now, with that said, what do you say to those people that are, because of the fact that they are using it as still being considered as that high risk, high reward investment?
Since it is high risk, high reward, and still very new, there's a lot of things that are going on in the background, like you're saying, that actually contribute to the gains and losses of it. I've seen Bitcoin and Ethereum go up and down with a tweet. It's very shaky. It's very volatile. There's not really too many regulations on it. It's the ground floor, if you will, of a new a brand new investing opportunity. And with that is the great risk. Some of it pays off. Some of it is a lesson learned that you have to, take off and use it as a stepping stone to other things. So
now I want to ask one quick distinction that I want to know how the book does that is understanding the difference between buying and selling merchandise with crypto versus investing in it. Because I've only done the investment part, but I'm not, willing enough to go ahead and start buying things with Bitcoin.
Okay. Well, with buying with Bitcoin is there has to be a market for it. I did in the book, actually, there's a bunch of companies testing it out. But if you think of Bitcoin, think of it as a normal credit card with your bank and EFT transactions, electronic fund transactions and whatnot. Bitcoin is just another form of that. That's the next next evolution of it. So it's going from, we have paper money. We actually started with cows and chickens, then we started the money, then we went to electronic transfers, and now we actually are doing cryptocurrencies where everything's digital. No middle, everything is done on your phone or on a computer. So to do that is you have to have a piece of what the person wants, what the company wants to buy from. Like Bitcoin, Ethereum, DAI, Litecoin are like some of the top ones out there right now, and they're still gaining because people are holding that value higher than other ones, like Shibu or Shai. There's over 10,000 different types of cryptocurrencies out there, and it keeps constantly growing. So whatever the company or the person feels that is the most valuable, that is what's going to hold the value. So to have that, you actually have to have a wallet where you store your cryptocurrency. You have to have a block or a blockchain technology that actually transcodes and keeps digital transactions in the data. And you have to have someone that actually has that can receive those type of payments.
Right.
So with those type of payments that go back and forth is no hand transfers. So it's all digital.
Part of the other thing too is that there's mining, which, I haven't gotten to the point where I'm getting servers and I've seen people that are actually building up right now and mining up Bitcoin or blockchain. And, I look at that and I also look at when you're talking about the payments, I notice I feel like you're going to have to go ahead and realize how you handle currency in other countries when you have to go and figure determining the value of what the American dollar is versus, say Dominican peso or, a ruble in Russia or something like that. So the idea is that you have to also be able to know what the exchange rate is if you're making those payments. Is that something that's being done now with some of these new payment structures?
Yes, with the cryptocurrency. Normally with cryptocurrency, it's actually translated back to the US dollar for the most part. That's the conversion rate that's on 99.9% of them. There's some that are changing to like the yen and whatnot, that they can equivalent to. But that's the thing with the platform. Bitcoin is a Bitcoin is a Bitcoin. So a Bitcoin in US is the same as a Bitcoin in South America or in China. So the only way it changes value is when you bring it back out of the exchange or out of the market into your home fiscal money.
Okay. Now, that's and also I just wonder about how volatile, because we already know that the price changes so much. It can go up, a couple of thousand dollars worth, in just any given time. Right. Now, I want to ask about some of the notable headlines, because I want to go and take how we've seen Bitcoin in particular, how it's being used, and how people have really gotten into what national headlines and world headlines have been out there talking about this. So first, I want to point out the popular EDM DJ David Guetta. He recently listed his $14 million Miami beachfront apartment. He would accept crypto for purchase for Bitcoin or Ether. And at the time the story came out, July of last year, I think it was, the Bitcoin price would have been about 374 Bitcoin, BTC. Then there's also other stories. You have the city of Miami planning to give out a Bitcoin yield from the staking of its cryptocurrency to its citizens and making payments through a digital wallet, with the work of cryptocurrency exchanges to allow its residents to acquire a wallet, register, and get verified. And part of this is to kind of offset their budget, because they're just, well, what else can we do? The budget's, we're in the tank. We're always in the red. We need to find a way to get out. Let's see if, crypto can do it. And in the book itself, you mentioned how back, a few years back, Microsoft has accepted Bitcoin for its Xbox games, and also the Xbox Store now is about to be accepting Bitcoin at some point. How do you perceive what these stories have done to put a spotlight on Bitcoin to everyday investors?
What they're doing is they're keeping it relevant. We're in such a giant trend-setting environment now with social media and social influencers. They got to keep it moving. They got to keep it moving forward and part of people's minds. I actually just looked at Microsoft has taken Bitcoin, DAI, Litecoin as in their Microsoft store now. So there's still there. Wow. It's actually, you can purchase anything from Microsoft like that, and there's a couple other companies that are doing that. So when David Guetta decided to do that, he's actually setting himself up for when things reach the sky limit again. So 374 Bitcoin now, 14 million could be 16.5 million in a week from now, or wow, if it goes up that high. Or it can do the adverse effect of it and go down to maybe 175,000 if it drops down that low.
Now, do you also try to determine when the price is low? That's when you're going to get more purchasing power, and then that's when people are actually going to be making purchases. So then, if you're a business trying to use Bitcoin as currency, do you worry about the fact that if the price is too high, people might be hesitant from buying?
They would definitely do that because there's only so much in the market they're not making anymore. But when you brought up mining on it, the data mining of it, there's so much that's entailed with that and such specific hardware that you need to purchase for that. We're talking anywhere from $10,000 to $100,000 in gear to start mining. But for the mining to actually be effective, you still have to submit the data that you mined, and it has to go in the marketplace and it has to be verified and validated. If it's not verified and validated, that the time and money and resources you spent are for nothing.
Yeah,
they can just chuck that out. So there's two sides to every coin on this, if you will, or every token. But right. So everything that's involved with this, because of the regulations that aren't in place, like we have in a normal traditional currency. So people can do pretty much whatever they want right now, but it's up to certain people that are holding it so high that are in control of it. No governments are behind it at the moment.
Well, there's one government that is trying very aggressively to make this happen. I've been following this story for a while. It's amazing. My father actually brought this up because of the fact that this particular president came into power and he's been trying to help. It's a country in Central America that has been in bad need of going through a lot of issues through wars and various things and trying to build their economy. And El Salvador is that country. They're the first and only country to adopt in the world Bitcoin as legal currency. And President Nayib Bukele has become one of the world's most foremost Bitcoin evangelists and since pushing a law through Congress there that requires businesses to accept the cryptocurrency for goods and services. LA Times wrote about this and they said, quote, his grand plan so far has produced tepid results. El Salvador has believed to have lost as much as $22 million in reserves thanks to dramatic plunges in the cryptocurrency's value. So I don't know how much you follow this story. I don't know if I got a chance. I didn't get to go through the entire book yet. I still got a little bit to go. But if you got a chance to follow this story in El Salvador, because of the fact you have a country playing that large test subject to see if crypto can be something that can be incorporated as another currency and be something used in everyday life in a whole country of various businesses, goods and services out there.
It's very well with doing that. One, El Salvador doesn't have the infrastructure to do something like that. Because of the infrastructure, you have to have a very well diversified and strong infrastructure with technology, with internet, and with digital capabilities. On top of that, you have to have the people that are willing to learn this. If people aren't willing to learn this, they're gonna go back to living in wherever they live outside of civilization.
Squalor, right?
Exactly. So it's great that they want to do it, and it's great that they are doing it. But there's such downtrends and uptrends with crypto, it could be used as a secondary currency and not a primary. It could definitely help sustain a country, but it's too early in its infant stages to actually be a primary.
Yeah, I can. It's quite brave of him to do what he did, but yeah, I mean, he could take the claim he was the first one to try, and there's a lot we can learn from the mistakes being made there. So,
almost definitely.
In chapter 2 of the book, and again, the book for those that are listening in, or if you're just catching this, or you just need to go look for the book again. Again, go to Amazon, wherever you find books. Making More Money for You, Decrypting Cryptocurrency, Writing the Path to Financial Freedom. In chapter 2 of the book, you actually talked about why there's so many types of crypto. And without giving out what you wrote, why do you think there are so many coins out there and tokens? And is there a saturation point to the amount that can be developed?
No, because the imagination's the limit. There's no ending in sight because there's so many different types of programmers out there, and one spawns off another one that can stem from one to a different one that they didn't like it for whatever reason. Programmers like to code things, they like to build things, they like to invent new things, so they're constantly going to do that. They want to get the next biggest thing going. But one reason why they also do that is you can't trace it,
right?
So
one of the coins I've actually gone on to now, where somebody passed me along, I want to say about 4 or 5 months ago, Pi coin, the one that you can actually mine through your mobile device. And so far, I think I got almost about 500 Pi right now at this point. And when I see something like that, or I see others that are out there trying to go some creative way to create another coin or token, trying to create value, how do you kind of determine which ones are going to actually rise to the top and which ones will crash and burn?
Well, in the infant stages, it's very hard to do that. Because I tried Pi. On my phone, and it ended up killing my phone. It killed my data. I got my phone bill when I got it back from AT&T, and I'm glad I had unlimited data and whatnot, but the data usage was ridiculous on it, and for only a small percentage of a return. So it all depends on who they get in their back corner to back the coin. If they can get influencers and companies and corporations to back the coin that they're making and find out why this is so much better than that coin, it has a chance to grow. And once it gets a chance to grow like that, it hits mainstream, we're going to see just like, well, Bitcoin took 10, 12 years for it to actually finally catch on and, go through the roof and into the stratosphere. So it could actually be with the current events of whatnot, it could take 3-4 days, or it can take 2 months. You really don't know until you try it. If you're willing to invest a little bit into it, to see if it goes anywhere, and it does take off, it's wonderful. And if it doesn't, lesson learned, and you can take a loss on it on your taxes. And yes, you do have to file taxes on this stuff because the government wants their cut as well.
Yeah, agreed. Now, NPR actually recently reported about this story, and this is really what catches my eye as well, because of the fact that it's currency just digital. What about the dollar, the US dollar? The NPR reported that US is gingerly considering whether to adopt a digital version of its currency, one better suited for today's increasingly cashless world, ushering what will be one of the dollar's most fundamental transformations. So the US would not only mint the coins and print paper bills, but also issue its digital cash, or a central bank digital currency that will be stored in apps or digital wallets on smartphones. And that can be used to pay for things just like we do with Venmo or Apple Pay, and no physical money would change hands. China already, for example, has unveiled the digital yen on a trial basis. And India, this past week, as a record, said it would create a digital rupee. So do you feel like other paperless currency options could disrupt the momentum of crypto?
Well, we're actually talking apples and oranges still here. Crypto is its own little thing. It's
Okay.
If we talk about normal money and normal funding, it doesn't matter what form they take. It's still going to be a dollar. It's still going to be a quarter or a penny or whatever it's going to be, but it's only in the digital form, like on our credit cards, which everybody wanted to do direct deposit and using credit cards. So they would alleviate all the paper end of it and the transactions. But now if we're talking cryptocurrencies, we're still talking a different platform altogether, because it's still not backed by the government or accepted. Well, it's starting to become accepted by the government, but it is a programmable language. See, when we get into programming with different types of programming languages, now we're talking different types of technology, and the technology that spawns into a marketplace in its own little like world. It's not really going to affect it, because it's still going to be, you're still going to need your normal money to go into the new universe, if you will.
Do you think when we get to it, if everything starts going digital and then just through your smartphone, you're able to go ahead and pay through a digital wallet, if it is a dollar, or if it's Shiba, or if it's Inu, or if it's, Doge or Bitcoin or Ethereum, what would businesses have to go through, you think, to go ahead and accept all these forms of payment? And what is that going to do to change the way that payments are processed? Like, what are we going to have to deal with when it comes to the purchasing, the point of sale?
Okay. That's why they have the point of sale systems. I use one for my website. I use, honestly, it's Tap Local Now, or like what you use to purchase your marketing was PayPal. So we're going to need brokers. We're going to need a brokerage accounts, or they need brokerage accounts that are already in existence to actually take in all the money. And what they'll do is they'll actually charge a fee to convert whatever money into the money that they're accepting.
Okay. Oh, by the way, what's the website for yourself that you were just mentioning for yours?
Oh, my website is legendaryproductsandservices.com.
Excellent. All right. Good long tail phrase. So, Magnus, we've now seen the rise of NFTs and more recently the Metaverse. I don't even know what this is all going on, but it's still amazing where the likes of JP Morgan Chase and McDonald's and Target, all these different places, are now working themselves and embedding themselves into the Ethereum-based virtual world platform of Decentraland, or Mana, plus other platforms like the Sandbox and Horizon Worlds. So like I said, there's lots of brands and companies coming to the Metaverse. Where does crypto fit into the Metaverse when it comes down to it?
Crypto is, well, we have to actually, can you hold on 1 second?
Sure.
Okay.
Take a couple seconds, and if you need I'm going to ask the question, I can.
Okay, thank you. I actually had to get out of a different call. So, okay.
You going to re-ask, or you got the
Actually, can you please re-ask the question?
Of course, yeah. Give me 10 seconds, I'll re-ask.
Okay.
Now, Magnus, we've seen the rise of NFTs and more recently the Metaverse. So now you have this new Ethereum-based virtual world platform, Decentraland or Mana. You have other platforms like the Sandbox, Horizon Worlds, and the likes of JP Morgan Chase, Target, McDonald's. Various people, various companies are jumping into the Metaverse. So I want to know about the purposes that crypto is creating for these metaverses. Where does crypto fit in?
Crypto, if you think about crypto encompasses everything, because crypto is the whole world. If you think about it, the way the best describe it is crypto is the strengthening of a type of money by putting programming into it, by also putting security into it, and using a digital path to send it from one person to another person. So it's more or less NFT, Bitcoin tokens are pretty much the vehicles to get it from one place to another place, but crypto is the infrastructure, if you will, and the guidelines that they use to program it and make it so that it can be viable by multiple people.
So now there was a story that you were quoted on a medium.com Authority Magazine profile. And they asked 3 things that community, society, politicians can do to help you address the root of the problem you're trying to solve. So I want to just go ahead and point out these points that you made to this article. Proper education of money, debt, and the consequences of misusing it. Change the way money is viewed. Money is to be used as a tool to acquire things, not means to an end. And quality of a person's life should not revolve about how much money is in their bank account. You've gone your own way to become an entrepreneur. I mean, right. You didn't go through any kind of a, high-end, financial education or anything like that. I mean, there's quite a story that goes into how you got here to write this book, which I can't do it justice, the amount of what you've spoken about in the book. You detail it at the very top, but it's what you said, that you want, everyone to realize you can't just be hoping that you just keep bringing in money to take care of things. And that money's got to be used properly. And that it's not, society is not based on the amount of money it has, but the amount of goods and services that are available. So it's like having to just circulate and work around the way you think about money and how you invest it, how you use it, and how you utilize it.
Absolutely. We're taught at a very young age from generations past. The person with the most money that doesn't spend it is supposed to be the most successful. And that's pretty much what culture has taught us. I actually am going to do a show shortly on the effects of that as we bring it from our adolescence and adulthood. And the people that are now graduating high school or graduating college and whatnot, or trade school or some form of education, the system has failed at teaching us that there are consequences of using money badly. And we don't learn those lessons until we actually do it, and we can't get help to get out of it. So when I made those quotes, and thank you for bringing that up, is that the books that I'm writing, the Making More Money for You series, is all about giving the knowledge out there to a person to make the choices that will educate them, and that it doesn't talk down to anybody, but it actually just brings the knowledge to you. If you're willing to do the work, the knowledge is there. Just apply it to whatever situation you have.
Right. And I think about the fact of who's trying to take advantage of the situation because of the mindset that the media's put out there and the way they've reported on this, because then you just look at, well, who's investing in crypto? You see a lot of young people that are jumping on board. They're influencers. They're using that as ways for currency or ways to invest what they're making off of what they're getting from the influencing work, being on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, what have you. Then you have others that feel like this is just a fade. This is a phase. This is a trend. Jump on it now, jump off, that kind of idea. But we know this is going to stay. And we have to understand that, there's something about where I know there's something here, and it's still, like you said, we're in its infancy. It's got to take some time for everything to establish. Mm-hmm. But now my last question for you, Magnus, again, the book is Making More Money for You, Decrypting Cryptocurrency, Writing the Data Path to Financial Freedom. What are the other Making More Money books that you have, just to go and let the listeners know about that and the viewers know?
Okay, the first book that I wrote was actually budgeting and mutual funds. First, that book actually talks about how to actually take accountability for where you are at right now in life, and taking the information that's in the book and applying it to your everyday life that you are at this point in time. And then it's investing in mutual funds, which are overlooked because there's so much new shiny things out there, like the stock market, and we have cryptocurrency and all this other stuff. But for someone that wants to actually begin an adventure, like just right out of college, it actually allows you to start investing and invest in 3 or 4 companies at once instead of one company all at once. So with the mutual funds, it gives you 3 options to make money instead of one. So if one of those options are making money and the other 2 are, you're still making money, but not as much.
My final question: how do you think crypto is going to overcome that simple concept that people have? Because there's just people on the street, or just people that are working, businesses. So, like, listen, if I want to go to a taco truck, if I want to go to, some kind of a street vendor, or, if I want to give something to a person who's homeless that, is asking for a donation, got a sign. Or if it's somebody that's out there that wants to go and work with someone that deals in the world's oldest profession, the streetwalker, the prostitute,
Right.
they all deal in cash. They still want to be paid in cash. How do you see that concept changing in just a simple transaction of money going around?
The simple transaction would be is a definite form of the payment is person to person.
Yeah.
Person to person transfers. We have Venmo and BitPay, or not really. No, not BitPay. Venmo and PayPal, person to person.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see everybody has a cell phone. Mostly everybody, 90% of people out there have a cell phone of some sort. Of some sorts.
Do it have to get to a point where everyone has to be able to go and have access to Wi-Fi, or they have access to the internet, some kind of data, and a device that helps them connect. So you're saying at some point we're going to have to be all connected. Everyone that's not, but my thing is, I guess there's still going to be people that, they never got cable. They're still using rabbit ears for antennas. Or there's people that have never gotten on the internet before either. How do they come into the mix without getting left out? Or are they just going to have to be forced to convert into a full digital society?
Well, it's already forcing people into the digital society. We're not stopping the society. The evolution of technology isn't stopping. If anything, it's growing more and more.
Right.
And people are adapting and becoming part of it, or they are getting left behind. The people that have the rabbit ears and whatnot, they might not get into this because they're perfectly content on where they're at in life.
Yeah.
And they don't see the point of it because the point is not made to them that will actually benefit them. They see no benefit in it.
Yep. Well, I don't know what they're going to do about that, but we're going to get to that point. And, unlike where people might have certain things that are not going to be disrupted by anything digital or any technology, there's going to be a point where there's going to be some kind of an extinction to it, and people are going to have no choice but to go forward with it. But crypto is interesting. I'm going to have to read this book over and over. I feel like you put a lot of information. It's one of those books you take notes, you go back and listen to it again and again. It's a great reference guide. And, I think you did a really good job putting it together. I just, it's one of those, it sucks because it was it's an audio book. I get it. And it's one of those, it feels like I have to just listen to it intently. So I have to go back 30 seconds. I have to go back and listen again to make sure I didn't miss anything. But that's how much detail the book has. Again, Making More Money for You, Decrypting Cryptocurrency, Writing the Data Path to Financial Freedom. My guest has been Magnus Carter. Magnus, before we're going to wrap things up, obviously we're telling people about the book, but anything else you want to go ahead and share with our listeners and viewers before we wrap up?
Actually, I'll actually tell you one thing that I haven't told anybody on any other interview yet.
Oh,
I am in the process of actually hosting a radio show. that's going to be coming out soon.
Now, that's going to be a terrestrial radio or a podcast?
It's actually going to be an audio radio station that's going to be voiced online, and it's going to be streaming.
Excellent. Well, give me the website again, your personal website, so we can direct people there as well. And the best way they can go in any social media channels where they can go and also follow along and learn about that announcement when it happens.
Oh, most definitely. I have my YouTube channel. The books are on Amazon. You can search them. Making More Money for You. They're in all the most definite Barnes and Noble carries it. You have to order it. Audible has the audio version, and I'm not gonna lie, I can't wait to work on my next book. It's going to be coming out soon. I'm in the process of writing it, which is actually going to take on the stock market. Just
wow.
a bit right here, basics of the stock market.
And Magnus, I got to tell you this too, because when we got kind of in a little bit of that 15 days to stop the spread and the whole thing about everybody kind of just staying at home, staying in place, that's when I got myself really interested in the stock market, where I already had certain investments, but then I got more aggressive into it. I learned a lot more. And a lot of the books I read on finance or entrepreneurship or anything like that, I call it kumbaya because that's what it is. Like, they really are feeding you some wishful thinking and hope. And I'm like, can you just give me actual information? Like, if there is not one decent stock market book I could find out there. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you provide. But if it's anything like you did with the crypto book, it's going to do great. And you don't go too far into the weeds. It's a good read. You can get through in a couple of days. And the audiobook was done very well, by the way. Really do appreciate that. Thanks again for making time, Magnus. Really glad to have you on, and keep us posted when the next book comes out.
Yes, Brasco, I'll definitely let you know. And it's on the website, legendaryproductsandservices.com.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, sir.